Hey guys, this is Maggie, and I'm going to do my little review for the movie Ponyo, which just came out this weekend, and it's a Japanese animated film, which is anime for those of you who don't know, and it's directed by Hayao Miyazaki, who is a very, very famous Japanese animator. Um, and his previous works include, some of the best animated films that have come out in recent years. When you think back to Spirited Away, which was a movie that came out in '03, or at least it came out over here in '03. It actually came out over there in like 2001. But it was critically praised and equally praised by audiences, and I think it's one of the best animated films of the decade. And also, my favorite of all of his films is Princess Mononoke, which is a very, very complex film, kind of a fantastical epic about um, civilization versus the forces of nature, and it's a really brilliant film. That's his best one, at least in my opinion. And of course, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Howl's Moving Castle, Whispers of the Heart, all kinds of wonderful, wonderful films. And his new film is Ponyo, which came out in 2008, and he brought it here, or John Lasseter, the guy in charge of Pixar, brought it over here because he's a huge fan of Miyazaki. And kind of Americanized it, made it um, available for American audiences. So basically, he dubbed it for with American actors, so we don't get the Japanese version. But actually, he got some really great actors. He got Cloris Leachman, Kate Blanchett, Matt Damon, Betty White, Liam Neeson. Some really great actors, some big stars. And anyway, so they're all in this film called Ponyo, which is about a little fish. It's a very kind of a fantasy, magical story, which most of Hayao's films are. But anyway, it's about a little fish, and she. It's kind of like Little Mermaid. She wants to go out into the human world and see what it's like. And her father is played by Liam Neeson, and he kind of wants to protect her. And anyway, she ends up going to the surface to see all the humans, and she um, is found by a little boy, and I don't remember his name because it was in Japanese. So, but anyway, um, he finds her and makes her his pet, and he calls her Ponyo. And she just loves him, and she loves the human world, so she wants to stay there. Anyway, so she is kind of a magical fish. She's kind of an unusual fish, and both her parents are magical, so she has magical powers. So she transforms herself into a human so she can stay amongst civilization. And anyway, it's kind of about her trying to find the balance between the world that she grew up in and this new world. And when I think of Hayao Miyazaki, I think he's the greatest, or one of the greatest directors alive today, not just one of the greatest animated directors, because he never ever disappoints. Or at least, some films are better than others. Like, I'm not as big a fan of Howl's Moving Castle as I am, say, Princess Mononoke, but all of his films have some special quality about them that totally stands out from everything else. And this film definitely has his signature. And what I think when I think about anime, I think of like two kind of genres. I think of this hardcore, very sci-fi, edgy, gory, bloody, um, violent cartoon. And then I also think of kind of the cutesy, fluffy, kind of Sailor Moon type of cartoon. And that's what Hayao Miyazaki does more of. He likes to do films that really have a lot of heart and inspiration behind them. And what I love about his films is that he's absolutely boundless with his energy and with his creativity. He will do anything. And it never feels out of control. You always feel a center of balance. And that's what's so wonderful about him. And Ponyo is no different. Ponyo is beautiful to look at. The animation is wonderful. It's very simplistic, or at least the characters look very simplistic, but the surroundings, um, the ocean, all the aquatic creatures, and the where the humans live, everything is beautiful. It's like watercolors and lots of detail, and that's what's really wonderful about looking at it visually. It's just really stunning to look at. But the thing about Miyazaki is that visuals do, like, I mean, they're just as wonderful as the story. Nothing is, everything is balanced basically. And um the story here, I mean, I remember when I was watching it, I was just smiling the whole time, and I was just absolutely inspired by it. I mean, it's just breathtaking to watch, and it's a kind of movie that it's not very complicated like some of his other works, but it's so it's so leisurely, and you can just kind of watch with such ease and just kind of soak it all in, and it's just mainly it's entertainment. And what I like about him also is the fact that he always makes, or not always, but most of the time his protagonists are children, and he really captures better than anyone the innocence of children, and that's wonderful because you don't get that from American animation. Um, he when kids are kids, they're fascinated by everything. They're very wide-eyed, and they're always, every little thing fascinates them. Of course, when you grow up, you lose that. But in Miyazaki films, all of the children are always, as innocent as any you've ever seen, and you feel that because, in all of his movies, he celebrates the quiet moments, the moments that aren't really that important to this, or actually aren't important at all to the story, but it adds such a humane quality to it, or human quality, humane. Anyway, for instance, there's a scene where the little boy and Ponyo are sitting at a table, and the little boy's mother makes him tea, and they're both so fascinated by the way that she stirs it and the way that she pours it into to the cups, and the way that they try it for the first time, and they just get so excited, and you feel that excitement with them. I mean, it's really easy to say, "Oh, it's just some tea and that's not a big deal," but the way Miyazaki makes every little moment seem special is, like, you feel like a kid yourself. I mean, at least I do. Um, because everything, I mean, I find myself being fascinated by the littlest things that mean, or they're completely insignificant, but they're beautiful moments. And also, well, goes for all anime films, but what I like so much about them is that they really pay attention to detail. Every little thing is seen, like the details, as in, like, for instance, one of the mom of the little boy, she is carrying a bunch of groceries, and she's got to get inside the door to her house, so she's got to put the groceries down and fiddle with her keys and find the right key. Or the little boy is trying to light a match, and he does it the first time and it doesn't work, so he keeps doing it until finally he gets the light, and he burns himself. Little moments like that is, like, adds so much detail and so much of a human quality to the film, that I think is just really wonderful, and you don't see that in any kind of American film. That's why I really appreciate the work that goes into Japanese animation. I mean, when I think of other, this is like a movie about, the ocean and about sea creatures. Yeah, I think of Finding Nemo, and there's such a difference between the two, because Finding Nemo is very Hollywood. It's very, you've got the wisecracking character, and then you've got the determined protagonist, and you've got the villain, and that's fine. I mean, I love Finding Nemo. I think it's a great movie, but there's something so refreshing and so unique about the Miyazaki films. There's never, well, not always, but a lot of times you'll find that there's really not a definite climax. There's never a definite villain or hero, and you never know where the story is going to go because it's so separate from anything you've ever seen before. I mean, there's never anything that's distinct, and every time you're watching, you never know what to expect. There's never really a sense of danger or a sense of worriment. There's just nothing that is Hollywood about it, nothing conventional. Everything is organic with him, and he makes every moment feel special. And that's what's great about Ponyo. That's one of the great things that's about Ponyo. And, when I think of, the Pixar movie that came out this year, which was Up, I thought was really wonderful. I loved the beginning of it. I thought it was a beautiful beginning, very inspirational beginning, and the ending. And I really loved the moments in between, between the old man and the little boy, the great moments. But what I didn't like as much was the fact that they brought in this kind of stereotypical villain and kind of the dogs and all that. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't enjoyable, but I think it kind of brought the movie down a little bit, or, in terms of its quality. It lost that special quality, for me at least. And the thing about it is that I think of Up, I think of all the special moments in Up, and that's basically the entire movie of Ponyo, minus all of the villain and all the stereotypes that you get from most movies. So definitely when the Oscars come around, I don't think that Ponyo would win for Best Picture, mainly, or Best Animated Feature, mainly because Up, or because Pixar movies always win, but I'm definitely voting for Ponyo because it is unique and it's special and it tugs at your heart and it's just beautiful to watch and it's a wonderful art form. So that's what I have to say about that.